I am going to call the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, March 22nd to order. And first item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Next to me a lot.
There are a few updates. Item 4C is an addition of Walgreens. Item 3D1, approval of state agreements for 2022 growing urban forests and caring for canopy grants is added. And item 5A, approval of proposed Hillsley 100 project team members is added. Is there any other amendments, deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda with the updates and additions, so noted here, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Next is approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there anything anyone would like to highlight in here? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, citizens' comments. Are you all here for the airport stuff? So that's on our agenda.
Not you, are you?
I mean, no, I'm here for is the discussion of improvements to the town reservoir?
Yes,
Okay.
that's on the agenda.
That's across
Okay.
the street.
That's on the,
Are there any hands up? I see hands up.
Go ahead, Judy.
Hold on.
Go ahead,
I
Judy.
just wanted, I apologize, I just want to know that I'm in attendance.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I am.
Yes.
Okay, Ann Christie?
Yes, hi, Kathleen. Let me get my picture. I'm sorry, I have just a photograph. I don't see where I can
Right.
indicate
Yeah,
I'm live.
you can go ahead and check.
Okay.
Go
My
ahead.
question is about the agenda, number 7. It may just be a matter of changing wording, but my understanding is that MANA is requesting the select board support for a letter to go to the governor regarding forming a citizens action committee or a CAC. It's a little bit different wording.
That's correct, and I think Ross will be presenting that. At least the letter was from Ross, so, or from,
Okay.
written by Ross. Are there anything else? Is there anything else?
So, Ann, I think the upshot is that it is in order to talk about that under that item.
Thank you, Kathleen and Brian.
You're welcome. Are there any other hands up?
Judy, are you all set? I'm going to lower your hand.
Okay, item 5 on the agenda, request for sole source purchase of diffusers for the wastewater treatment facility. And Bob Wells is seeking our approval to purchase 100 FlexNorm diffuser Mag 200 assemblies from Aqua Aerobic Systems of Loves Park, Illinois, under the sole source purchases provision of the purchasing policy at a total cost of $22,292.80. Diffusers are needed, Bob says, in preparation for a project to take down one of the sequencing batch reactors at the wastewater facility in August for routine maintenance. Each SBR, sequencing batch reactor, has 200 installed infusers that gradually plug over time and need to be replaced. Well, Bob has about 60 new diffusers on hand and was planning to spread out the purchase of the remaining units needed for the project between the current and next fiscal year. The quoted lead time for delivery from the supplier is now 16 to 20 weeks versus the normal approximately 2 weeks. Bob notes that the purchase will cause an overrun in his budget of about $10,000. However, he is anticipating an offsetting surplus in industrial discharge revenue in FY '22 of about $120,000. Questions of the board?
So just to make sure I understand, and it looks like from the proposal, he's ordering 160 at one time rather than 80 and 80, correct? Is that what
Correct.
everybody understands?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood. I'm good with that.
I was just curious what's changed between budgeting and now that he's expecting an extra $120,000 of industrial discharge revenue?
I'm sorry?
He says he's anticipating an offsetting surplus of $120,000 of industrial discharge revenue in this budget year, and I was just wondering what had changed and why he expects that.
Is
if
that
we
the
know.
rate for Cabot? Or what is that?
That may be part of it, though that just went into effect January 1, so we may not be seeing the full impact of that. I can ask Bob for his
He said-
detailed explanation.
Wasn't there something attached?
He did have an attachment showing the revenues from each.
Oh,
Yeah, we do.
there is.
I didn't really, I saw it was there, I didn't really pay that much attention to it because I didn't question it, but,
Yeah, thanks, I did not see that was there. Great.
so I'm assuming that the numbers in red are actual.
Right.
Yep.
And so he must be just over what he had originally budgeted. He doesn't show what the actual budgeted amounts are, but he just must be over what was originally in the budget.
Gotcha. Thanks.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yep,
Oh, it says budget at the bottom.
right. And there's the,
Got
yeah.
it.
115 between those. Excellent.
So I'm assuming based on the fact that there's 200 diffusers in there and he's only buying 160, that he does anticipate that he has to replace all of them at
Well, he had
once.
60 on hand, I think,
Oh, right.
so.
Yeah, but he was originally planning on only buying 80 and 80, but he does that.
On a routine basis.
Oh, but it would have been done in July after, I got it. Never mind.
The new,
Figured it out. Just needed to give it a little
Also-
more
the new
thought.
budget year. Yeah.
Also because of the supply chain, he wants to
Yeah,
order
yeah,
them
yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, got it. Good with it.
Okay. Can
A motion?
A motion, please?
I gotta
I
get back
move
to
to
it.
award a contract to Aqua Aerobic Systems, Inc. for the purchase of 160 Flexnor diffuser assemblies for use at the wastewater treatment facility at a total cost of $22,292.80.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next is approval of the proposed Hillsley 100 project team members. And there's a follow-up to our board discussion for formal approval. The following members, one additional member of the public still to be named. Dan and Farhad from the Select Board. Joe and Amy from the Library Board. Barbara Doyle Wilch as a public member, and Jim Gish as a public member. And non-voting members in advisory capacity and participation is Dana Hart and Judith Harris. Any questions? We have Joe here to
I just want to raise, if I could, a procedural point, which was
Sure.
that at our early February meeting, the select board accepted the report of the working group that you had established. I'm not sure if by accepting that report, you created this new body. I don't think you did. So I would request that in your motion, you create the Hillsley 100 project team, that you refer to the charge the working group report and then appoint the members.
So the motion that's here, the only thing that I would ask you to add at Joe's request is with the charge as we have approved. Okay?
Thank you.
So I would solicit a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the creation of the Hillsley 100 project team with the committee members as presented by the library director Dana Hart, and also with the approval of the charge as presented in, when we presented it
By the working group.
by the working group. Okay.
Second.
Is that close
Did you
enough?
second?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you have a established committee or team, a charge, and we wish you well. When you, I
We started meeting this coming Thursday.
This Thursday, we meet.
meet, okay. So is Dan with us? I see Dan.
Hey, Dan?
Are you there, Dan?
Yeah, how's that?
Okay, we don't have a visual on you, but we can hear you.
It's coming.
We have visual.
All right. Okay, first item for your consideration tonight is a proposal from VHB for engineering, design, and permitting services for a roughly 1,000-foot sidewalk starting at the rail platform and paralleling the V-Trans U-Tunnel tunnel that was just recently built last year towards the south into the Marble Works area, and then along the Marble Works area down to the old lighthouse there. Can you still hear me?
We can.
Yeah?
Okay, all right. We've got a 50/50 grant from V-Trans for this project. 100,000 share would be V-Trans, 100,000 share would be town. We have a proposal from VHB to start the design on that. Their proposal is $26,750. Some of the important points are to work with the neighbors who are along the west side of the rail U-channel tunnel. And even though it would be on state right of way, they're going to have some input what works for them. And also communicating with the Marble Works entity for what works for them. So, as I said, proposal is $26,750. The idea is to get this, designed over the summer. The grant does have a deadline for construction. I think it's in October. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen just because of the time with, everybody is so backed up on projects, and state included. So I'm sure it'll be a grant amendment for extended time. Not only that, but the cost of everything is kind of crazy right now, and so I think everybody wants to make sure we get a good price for what we're going to do here. So anyway, I'm requesting you approve the contract to VHB for $26,750.
Questions of the board? Farhad?
I got a,
We have feedback here.
hello? It's good now. Where's the feedback?
Sounds that come through Dan.
Dan, is that you?
No, I'll put my headphones back in. Let me just see if that makes a difference. Did somebody ask a question?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. The original plan was to go through Maple Street, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
The original sidewalk, was it to go through the Maple Street, right?
Originally, the grant submittal by Jim was to come out the south end of the rail platform, and then follow the curvy Maple Street into the Marble Works. The problem with that is the right-of-way in that section there by the Addison Independent, going north towards Gary Baker's house, is only an 18-foot right-of-way. And so there's no way we could do a sidewalk without property takings and so on and so forth, which I don't think is great for the neighborhood. So, as the tunnel project came to a close, we could tell that there was some room there along that wall that would work, and then contacts with V-Trans, they're amenable to it. So this project would be on their right-of-way.
Is there a
Most of it anyway.
Is there a cost difference between the two projects?
Should be cheap.
I think the proposal that Janet put together was higher than this one. And so I think a preliminary estimate from VHB was somewhere around 150,000, but I would say with pricing, all bets are off on what that's going to be. But this should be less costly than a Maple Street route.
And you have less of a opposition to this, what you're thinking?
Yeah, like I said, the first route would probably have some property acquisition or easements negotiated with some property owners along Maple Street. Here, none of that is there, at least for the area where the houses are. We'll still have to work with the Marble Works. We would have to do that anyway to see what works for them. So,
Okay, thank you.
this distance is a little shorter this way too.
Any other questions?
I'll move to award a contract to VHB for engineering, design, and permitting services for the sidewalk extension from the Amtrak rail platform at a total cost of $26,750.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a hand up in there?
There is. Judy, your hand is up.
Yep, thank you. One, is it possible for us to see others that are in attendance via Zoom?
I can read you the list real quickly. We have Ann Christie, Brian C. Jones, Fred Dunnington,
Okay,
Jess.
but we can't actually see those people.
Oh,
Are you talking about people who
people,
are
she's talking
in
about people
person?
here.
Oh, you want to talk, you
Right.
want to see who is in the room?
No, who are in attendance via Zoom. Because we're able to do that at other meetings.
Oh, no, not this.
Not,
And I don't
Different Zoom.
not in the way we have it set up,
Not
Judy.
in the webinar format, which is what we use, Judy.
Okay, that's kind of unfortunate. So I will express my concern as I did at the last infrastructure committee meeting. The AOT is planning, to help with this pathway from the new railway station into town. And I do not see any suggestion, regard for green infrastructure, suggestions, and I am opposed to that. If there is not, I think that the state has to be called to task on that. I think the town needs to be called to task for that. This is something that needs to be done, and so that's what it is. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
Not to get off in the weeds, but to respond to Judy's concern, this project is in the design phase. We are just approving the design of this project, and so nothing has been decided about any of it, and we don't even know if it will include any drainage as part of the project, which would result in green infrastructure, so. We will evaluate it as it gets further in the design process.
Heather, if I may add, I want to see that consideration step by step. Thank you.
I'm not sure I followed that.
Thank you, Judy.
Ross?
I would just throw out one.
Can you come up to the mic, Ross? Please? Thank you.
I was just going to suggest one of the things that could be done in the design phase is ask them to look at using pervious paving instead of just impervious paving. And that would help with the green infrastructure.
So just a comment on that. In the book, we have not gotten very far in our discussions about infrastructure and impervious pavement. We are still looking at it. It's hopefully be on the agenda for next month. In the book we got from the state, every example of pervious pavement is not a smooth surface. And I am concerned about access and mobility issues for people who might want to be accessing the train station who have mobility issues. So I think that discussion is a little bit premature at the moment. This project may move ahead without those considerations, but we're working on it. We are looking at it. Judy's provided some information. Dan's got some information from the state. We're going to try to have time on the agenda for anyone that's interested to talk about it further and just get more information and know how we can start incorporating these things in. But it may be not something that we can implement immediately. The grant for this particular project set to expire in October. For a project like this, we would want to have had it bid already, and we're only in the design phase. So we need to get the state to give us a extension, hopefully, and then we got to see what VHB says about possibilities for the site. And you know, as you know, they just installed those U-channels and everything. That may limit the possibilities of putting some green infrastructure in because of the construction underneath where we're putting this in VHB's right-of-way. So it's under consideration. We will evaluate it through the design process, but
Hopefully, maybe you can even do a little of both. Have
Yep.
some, you know, impervious sections for a wheelchair to run on, like rails, if you will,
Yeah.
and some impervious or something.
yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe there's possibility for some creativity there. I'm open to the possibility, so. But we're working on it. How's that?
Educating ourselves.
Yes,
Okay.
we're trying to move in that direction.
Okay, thanks, Russ. Other comments? Select Board? Did we get a second on that motion?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Then we'll go to vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Dan?
All right, thank you. The next topic is engineering and design services, preliminary engineering, let's call it that, again from VHB. This is for the Charles Monroe intersection. I don't know if you've had a chance to read through the proposal, it's quite involved. But this is basically, fact finding and let's figure out what we have in the ground, under the ground, and then have conversations with, neighbors and the high school and look at hydraulics, environmental issues, a lot of things. And so this is kind of, when preliminary engineering is, let's see what we have, where do we think we're going to go, and then have something ready in case there's additional funding or partnership with the state on this project. So their proposal is for $49,249. Over the last, this fiscal year, this current fiscal year and the upcoming fiscal year, there's, I believe that's the right way to say that, Kathleen. We put $50,000 in those two budgets, so we have $100,000 in pigeonhole to start the process of some preliminary planning for this intersection. So we're adequately funded. The proposal from VHB is looking for an estimated completion of August 31 of this year. And there'll certainly be a lot of conversations, with you and the school as we go through this process. So the request is to approve VHB's proposal for $49,249.
Questions?
Dan, oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, this is interesting because I think it was 2 years ago, or maybe this past year, when we had our offsites, we listed our priorities of what we thought was important in town to do. And although I thought this project was pretty high up there, it came out and with us, very low. So I'm excited to see that we're at least laying the groundwork and getting things done, that if money comes available, we can do this, because I think that's a pretty crazy intersection there.
This was very high on Dan's priority list.
Both Dan's, maybe. Both Dan's priority list.
Well, let me just interject. When this was studied several years ago, the level of performance rating for this intersection was an F. So if that gives you an idea how bad it is, it's bad. So.
And you're convinced that this is one of the areas causing the biggest choke point along Court Street?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've done all we can with intersection timing. It just gets, you have two east and west movements that can't happen at the same time, that have to run independently, and that takes time away from flow up and down Court Street.
I'm not going to argue with you. I set you up for that, so.
Good.
And the pedestrian issue, it's just crazy for kids. They have to stop, and they can't run concurrent with east and west directions either, so they stop everything when that happens, which is great, it's fine, but everything adds to the time.
One other quick question, will this preliminary design take in consideration looking at the Maverick station there, how it would fit in with any improvements or help or not?
Yeah, if any of you haven't seen and it's been a while, the study that VHB did a few years ago, I can get that to you. That's the process. We had public hearings and meetings at the high school, and kind of sorted things out. It's a good read. At the end of the day, it was determined that a signalized intersection would work there. I think we all kind of thought a roundabout might be best, but it turns out a four-way cross intersection is going to go there. Basically, Charles Avenue moves to the south, where the Maverick gas station is. The parking flips to the north. Again, that was preliminary, but it was it was a design that worked, I should say preliminary thoughts that worked well for the traffic situation and worked well for the community, what they thought. So if you haven't seen it, let me know or Kathleen know, and we'll get you that report, because that'll be good background for you as we proceed.
And then I was just, could you remind us, because now that I'm not on infrastructure, I can't keep all of the contractors straight, but how we have worked with VHB and when in the past?
Yep. Yeah. So VHB helped, they helped design the Cross Street Bridge project.
Okay.
And they were the tunnel rail project folks. Their proposals, at least with, I shouldn't say for at least, but their proposal on this one is pretty top notch. I mean, they cover all the little pieces. So I expect a very thorough job on the preliminary.
Thank you. Have you? Okay. Yeah. The only other thing I'll add is I was one of the people who had this low on the list, and I changed my mind after hearing how high it was on Dan's list. So I appreciate that feedback from staff, and just so you know, it does land. I definitely changed my opinion.
I'll move to award a contract to VHB for the preliminary design of the Court Street, Charles Monroe intersection at a total cost of $49,249.
I second it.
I think I see a hand up. Judy, Kathleen.
Okay, Judy?
So once again, and this came up at our last infrastructure committee meeting, I would like to see any proposal made by this organization, this business, include green infrastructure alternatives. If you need further explanation for why that's important, I'd be glad to present, but I personally would not approve any plan for this intersection, which I think is great. I've been backed up on it like numerous times, but if green infrastructure is not part and parcel of this project, I would nix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Just for future reference, I think we've got the point. I'm not sure we need to prolong every single project to hear that.
So I'll just add that, Dan, you had some extra copies of the book you got for the infrastructure, right? So if anyone on the select board, wanted a copy of the book that the state puts out, I think Dan had some extra copies.
I would like a copy,
I
please,
would
Dan.
too.
Yeah, if we could all get it, that'd be great.
Lovely.
I had this in my bag from the last, I don't know that anybody can see this, but on the Pervious Pavers, every picture in here is of like pavers, with stone in between, which obviously makes them pervious, so the water can flow down between. But this says to me that, especially in our climate with frost and thaw cycles, that this is not going to be mobility challenged friendly. And I'm not sure that on this particular sidewalk example, I want to test this in that area. Like, I think it might be a good idea to find a small place where we could do some of this and see how it behaves and how it handles and how the mobility issues are, but maybe not in the Maple Street Amtrak corridor. So, anyway.
It's probably a little bit more costly than just flat out pouring concrete, isn't it?
It is going to be a lot more costly.
It's like the-
It requires a considerable base difference than just pouring
Was
concrete.
it, what were we looking at, $63 a foot and $95 a foot?
And there is information in this book about the requirements for what's required for base preparation to install something like this. So, yes, it will most definitely cost more than the standard.
Dan has a comment?
Yeah, I would just say pretty safely here that there will have to be green infrastructure treatments in some of the design of this intersection. Because a new parking lot's gonna be built, certainly is gonna have some. There's a drainage swale, it's part of the creek, little creek branch that goes through there. It's gonna have something there. That's kind of, I think, basically understood, but we'll make sure that happens.
Well, and I do think, you look at our park downtown, I think we have tried to, where feasible, incorporate it in some of our recent projects. So
Yep.
I would imagine that that's part of the standard of these civil engineers that are doing some of this work.
That's right.
Are there other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Okay, the next item is a request for having some survey work done up at Chipman Hill at our water reservoir site. Dufresne Group has submitted a more extensive proposal for doing the engineering for that. We'll address that in a future meeting, but that was $62,000. But as part of that proposal, there's a component for surveying for $3,055. Like I said, this is not a contract. It'll be part of that other one, but at least we wanted to get the survey going very shortly because one, the leaves aren't on the trees. It's a pretty heavily wooded area up there, and they want to get some shots done while the leaves are off the trees. So this is a request for you to approve $3,055 to Dufresne Group to go ahead and do the survey. They are the company that did the water hydraulic study of our entire system a few years ago, and one of the things to get going on was a 1.3 million gallon reservoir or water tank addition to the one that's up there. One of the tank manufacturers, two of their reps stopped by last week. We took a walk around the area so they get an idea of what it looks like. So for right now, I just need you to approve the expenditure of $3,055 for the survey work so they can get going. Design would take place over the summer.
Just to clarify Dan's comment about the hydrology study, I would clarify a little more, and this was in the top 3 or top 5 projects of that original, this project was in that. So I just wanted to add that clarification, Dan.
I just have a couple of questions, but, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I submitted this project to the DWSRF program. That's the state revolving fund for drinking water facilities, and it's a priority list application. The state's been kind of, poking us a little bit the last couple, 3 years about doing something about the storage. We needed additional storage based on our daily demand. So you can see some of the businesses, out in the industrial park are using a little bit more water and therefore generating a little more wastewater. So we need to get it done. I really expect, I'm surprised that the state hasn't told us, you need to get this done and here's your schedule. So I'm trying to get a little bit ahead on that issue, and I would hope that if not this year, next year, there would be some funding from the state, because this is they know this is a need.
So, you want me to move?
You can make the motion now. I want to open it up for other.
Okay. Want me to wait?
Yeah, I'd like to just.
Okay.
Questions?
How big is the current tank up there?
1.5 million gallons.
Okay. And you answered my question why we were thinking about another tank. That current tank is in good shape, right? I mean, we did some work on it a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was built in 77 or 78, somewhere around there. It certainly wouldn't, at some point, some years down the road, that's probably going to need a redo. But it's okay now. We're just really limited on meeting the daily demand with fire flows. That's the concern.
Okay.
Yeah, we replaced fixed the cover on the existing tank, and we put a fence up around so that we could keep people off the existing cover and prevent further damage to it, yeah.
Any other questions?
And we might have fixed some, maybe it was just cracking in the cover, right?
There's some
Yes, thank you.
spalling on the surface, and then there are a few areas that had a little bit larger cracks, and those were, routed out and sealed. So, yeah.
But that was all in it was all in the cover though, right, Dan? In the, yeah.
And there was some on the sides, a hairline crack. Not that anything was leaking, but it was just, maintenance thing that we should just keep at it. So seal those up.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Do we have any issues with our water supply meeting demand? Is it just about storage at this point?
Well, yes and no. We're looking at, I also submitted a priority list application for a new well site out by well number 2, which is just south of Carreras on 116. And we'll see how that fits, in their list. So that's that's another thing to get after is another alternative well site.
Okay, good.
Want a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll move to award a contract to the Dufresne Group for a site survey for a total cost of $3,055 to be conducted in preparation for the installation of a 1.3 million gallon supplemental water storage tank on Chipman Hill.
I second it.
Seconded, any other comments or questions?
Well, I do have a comment. I'm Tony Riffle. I'm one of the Patel trustees. And I just heard about this recently. The new reservoir is on Battelle land. We're talking now about another 1.3 million gallon tank. I talked to Dan this afternoon, and he said it would be a circular thing, 100 feet in diameter. It's our responsibility to see that the land is used according to the will of Joe Battelle. And that will be a significant factor, and certainly we should be involved in it to a great degree. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Understood, yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of legal work being done to allow this reservoir to be built back in '75. And I imagine we'll go through the same thing.
So what would the timeline look like on that? After you have the survey and a potential design, you would reach out and provide information for them to look at and consider, or what's your process on this?
Well, certainly, once the survey is going to tell us, where can this thing go?
Yeah.
They're kind of limited by, just the hydraulics of it. This tank has to have for economics, has to have the same high water level, functioning level as the existing tank. Putting it higher, it creates a whole lot of issues with, control, getting water in and out. So it's going to have to be, like I said, most economically placed at the same hydraulic level as the existing. And so that's what the survey is going to tell us. Where can that be? So it really limits it's just a limit of where it can go. It's going to have to go right or left of the new one, or maybe up slope a little bit. These are, most of these tanks, at that size, they're round, with a dome top on it, all concrete. It's all pre-stressed, panels that are stood up in place. Most of it will be submerged, similar to the one that's there now. If it's on a slope, which most of that side is, the downside would have more concrete wall exposed, the upside not so much. But the survey is going to help decide where it can go, and then we have a conversation of with a trust and say, okay, here's what we know, but we don't know anything until we get a survey done.
Sound fair?
As long as we're involved.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Dan, you were going to give us an update on some other projects?
Yeah, I don't have anything on the teen center. I wasn't part of that one, so I can't help you there, but I can talk about Triangle Loop Project. We had a meeting, and it looks like that's gonna go Seminary Street to Elm Street to across the Pulpmill Bridge area, and then head north, Oregon Horse Farm Road or whatever. And then there would a detour would be signed to go through the downtown area. I think that makes most sense. Everybody thought that was acceptable. So that's where that's at. I think at a future infrastructure committee meeting, we're going to talk about overnight parking. One of the comments was, do we have enough overnight parking, and is it accessible for folks? So Chief Hanley has to be a part of that conversation. So that's a future topic. And I just want to mention that today we had a pre-construction meeting for the Washington Court Square Water Main project. They will start mobilization April 4th. If there's a schedule on if it's not already up, it'll be shortly on the town website. Construction goes at least through September 15th. Most of the work will be at night. So when you look at that schedule, you'll see some gray area and some yellow areas on the timeline. The gray is at night, the yellow is during the day. Most of the construction will be at night. Bob Harrigan, who is the project inspector for Otter Creek Engineering, has spoken, if not once, several times with their businesses along there, letting them know what the situation is. So the work will start probably April 11th, and it'll be right at the intersection of Seymour Street and Main Street. And they're going to start about 5 o'clock in the evening and put a bell vault in that intersection on Seymour Street. So here we go. Hang on, but
Coming right to your house.
That's the big news.
Middlebury Inn will be happy.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Any questions of Dan while we have him here?
I know you said you don't have details, but do you know if proposals are coming in for the work on the teen center?
They were supposed to be here March 11th. I know Bill's been out. I didn't have a chance to ask how they went. So,
Okay.
Unless Kathleen, did you happen to?
I did not hear from Bill, no.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Okay. Brings us to you, Andy, and met you on Zoom, but
Dan, are you gonna hang her out?
It's good to see the owls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they work
Did
most
they
of the
work
time.
well for you guys?
you know, we weren't out in the viewing audience. It appeared when you look at it up on the screen like it would capture the speaker pretty well, but I'm not sure because of the field whether it was really easy to see on a TV
Yeah.
or not. I don't know.
All right. Good.
But it's the alternative is that we're all on Zoom, and we felt that we were more productive once we could come together, to even if we had to wear masks, to be able to be together and have the dialogue.
Yeah. Well, it's good to meet you all. Thank you, Brian and Kathy, for putting us on the agenda tonight. My name's Andy Sambrook. I live at 287 Airport Road in Middlebury, and I am the co-secretary of the Middlebury Airport Neighborhood Association, otherwise known as MANA. So I just want to speak briefly. There's a letter that's in your packet. I know that that's been shared, drawn up by MANA to the governor. I just want to speak briefly about that and why that is in your packet. This was written on behalf of MANA, requesting of the governor that we be allowed to participate in the current recrafting of the Middlebury Airport Master Plan that is currently ongoing. We ask tonight that the Select Board considers drafting a supporting letter to the governor for his consideration. It is fairly urgent. It is urgent because we understand that the Master Plan redraft is already well in process. We don't believe, Manor does not believe that this should be that contentious. Just simply neighbors desiring to provide their input into a master plan that could impact the development of the airport for the next decade. I think the FAA requires master plans to be done at least every 10 years, I think. So public input, like tonight, it happens frequently through state and local government planning. And rather like the Middlebury Town Planning Commission, they engaged 7 volunteer residents to help craft the town plan in 2017. So what have we asked? So in the letter to the governor, we asked that for the formation of another acronym, the Citizens Advisory Committee, as a solution to get voices to the table from the neighborhood around the design of the airport master plan. What is the CAC? We didn't invent that acronym, and it's nothing that Manor has created or invented. It is a recognized structure by the FAA, and it is recommended and frequently used by airport sponsors. So VTrans, in this case, is the airport sponsor for Middlebury Airport. The structure, the CAC, the CAC structure, and its role is set out in FAA documentation, and I think that was referenced in the background materials that you got. It's a link to what they call the FAA circular around that. So why are we doing this? We are seeking a seat at the table via the CAC of the CAC while the master plan is in its formative stage, and ask for your support in that request. We're not asking that tonight, we don't expect tonight that the select board will solve all the communication problems that may have been in the past between the residential community around the airport and VTrans. I think that would be a worthy ambition, but we feel that that may take a more detailed conversation between VTrans, Manor, and the select board. Tonight, so specifically tonight, we're just asking for support of the of our letter that that we will submit to the governor on this topic. What would the CAC do? What would this committee do? It wouldn't have veto or decision-making power in the master plan process itself. That clearly remains with VTrans. But it would allow us to provide input early and often into the plan as it's being created. Just as background, there is another acronym, a TAC, a Technical Advisory Committee, that does exist currently and is helping to provide input into that plan. And that comprises of 16 folks at the moment. 7 are VTrans employees, 2 are from Addison County Planning and Chamber of Commerce, and 4 are FAA employees. 1 is the owner of a business at the airport, and 1 is a seat held by the town of Middlebury. Another one set aside is for a hangar owner. So that actually has not been filled, and that's a vacant seat at the table right now. So as you can tell, there's no de facto representation from any resident of the town of Middlebury, let alone the area around the airport itself. And we are requesting through the mechanism of a CAC for the rebalancing of the voices around the table to include representatives of the 50, 100, 200 folks who live and work around the airport and who could and will be impacted by the developments over the next decade of the new master plan. So in summary, we believe the formation of a CAC, a CAC, will be the only way to accomplish this rebalancing in regards to the master plan for the neighbors around the airport. And we do ask the select board to support our letter to the governor and further show that support by also writing a letter to Governor Scott in support. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Questions of Andy? I think there's others that also wanted to speak, possibly. Eugene? You okay? Ross? Okay.
Backing me up.
Brought all the guns.
I just, one thing. If a CAC was formed, the CAC also has the same kind of representation as a TPC, meaning you as MANA, it wouldn't, the CAC wouldn't be a group of homeowners around the airport in a CAC. You would probably have one seat on the CAC. Businesses would have a seat, other people would have a seat. It would be composed of very similar people that the TPC says. At least in the instruction there, it said, TAC, I mean, it said, it says that it's a lot of representation. So it's not a group of homeowners.
No,
You would have one seat.
well, one or maybe a couple, but yes, but the FAA, in addition, the FAA has created this concept of a CAC for a reason, and it is for the community voice to be heard. I guess they believe that the TAC is going to be filled with FAA folks, VTrans folks, maybe regional planning folks, economists, or technical advisors. And there was no specific role for the community within that, so which is why the structure of a CAC, the FAA bothered to come up with that suggestion as a second
True, but
committee.
it would be a mix of groups, businesses, local people,
Yes.
town, I think it even says government officials and things like that would be on that committee also.
Yes,
So, okay. Okay, just-
non-technical advisors.
Okay, right. I just wanted to know that you understood that you couldn't create a local community group all of your own to do this. In fact.
No, but if you look at the, also within that FAA circular, it specifically calls out neighborhood associations as
Right.
being
As a seat
as a
on it.
party of interest, right?
Okay.
As well as other non-neighborhood community holders as well.
Okay. That's all I wanted.
Okay. Any other questions of Andy? Ernie, I see hands up.
Why is it dark?
I don't know why it went dark.
There's a.
Okay, Judy?
Can I speak?
Yes, you can, Judy.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. First off, it's very difficult to tell who's speaking, because of the way this meeting is being transmitted. I can't see who is speaking. I can't tell who's in attendance. I know that Andy was just speaking, but I have no idea who responded to his comments. And that's not working for me. So if there's any way to correct that, that would be great. In regards to what Andy just mentioned, the TAC has not enlisted community members to support their ideas and their interests. So why is it that the Community Advisory Committee should necessarily enlist members that would be totally adverse to this interest? And I don't know who suggested that, Dan, I'm thinking it was you, but I don't have any idea, because I can't see.
It was me,
So if
yes.
you can explain, that would be great.
I didn't say soliciting any people that would be adverse to this. I just said that a CAC, according to the materials that we have read, is supposed to be a representation of all organizations, local abutters, airport personnel, homeowners association, homeowners, businesses, government officials, and things like that. I didn't say anything about being adverse to the project. I just said, I just wanted to make sure that MANA understood that it wasn't only gonna be a group of homeowners that were gonna be on a CAC sitting before, and advising. That's all I said.
Dan, just a comment. The C in CAC stands for Citizens Advisory Committee. So
All I'm quoting for
No.
is right out of the description on page 28. I don't think I said anything that was not on that 18 or 28, the paragraphs that you.
So Dan, is it okay that the technical advisory committee consists of a very focused group?
They're technical, yes. It has to be a very focused group. That's why it's called a technical.
But it's not okay for the citizens advisory group to be focused.
I didn't say that.
Well, it sounded like you did, so.
No, I didn't. I didn't say anything like that. I just was talking about what the composition should be like. So,
It sounded like you did, sorry.
okay.
Need to turn that out just a little bit.
Who has the authority to name the members of the CAC?
I'm wondering if the.
I don't know. Does anybody know the answer to that?
my understanding is it's the airport
it's-
sponsor, which would be V-Trans.
Okay.
Okay, Judy, I'm gonna,
That was shining right at me when I
was?
when
It
I was
was?
talking. Was that picking it up?
It didn't pick you up, it didn't come up, but now
so
it's,
now we have Ann Christie.
now it is.
I'm against Andy.
Sure. It's only looking at you now.
Is anyone else back?
No.
Oops, sorry, Paula. Did you have your hand up? Paula?
Paula, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We hear you, Paula.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh dear.
We can hear you, Paula.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear
I
you.
was just wondering if you could hear me. I was wondering if we can get back to the question that Andy raised about whether the select board will support the letter. Can we get back to that question that Andy raised?
Just calling the question.
Yep.
The question he raised, Andy,
Yes.
Yes.
Andy, do you want to raise the question again for yourself?
The one question we have tonight is we're asking the select board to support, you've seen our letter to the governor, and we would like you to support that and ideally write a supporting letter to the governor that we could include with our letter as well.
Okay. I think of all of us sitting here on the select board, you have the most experience, Brian, with the state and the dealings in Act 250s and things like that.
Okay, I'm going to just give you then my thoughts. We've been dealing on this for a couple months, and there is no doubt in my mind that we've got a major problem with the communication from state airport division to the town and the citizens around the airport. It's manifests itself yet again in that people are unaware of what's going on, and it became a real concern a couple months ago. And some of the things that I've found in the process are systemic problems. I'll give you an example, the failure for notifications. Some of that is we're finding our town database isn't getting updated. Another thing, there was, I think, problems with the mailings. Then there's this master planning that's going on, and all the players that are currently named on the TAC aren't even aware when there's a TAC and a TAC meeting. In that, the TAC actually has a membership designated for the town planner. And, this is on master planning and on hangar permit applications, Act 250, and then on cutting of trees, we have problems where trees are being cut and residents, if they had been, I would tend to think that they never were notified. And so I have a real major concern that we have a breakdown that is catastrophic. We have a long-term relationship. The airport is not going away. The trust was really damaged years ago when there was a state agent who was blatantly providing misleading information to the town and to the citizens there. And just when we were trying to build it back, we have a real systemic problem in the communication. I've talked with the Act 250 district coordinator to try to find out some of the problems with Act 250 notifications. I've talked with 3 different players at the Agency of Transportation to find out what's going on and brainstorm ideas that might work. I was really thinking a citizens advisory committee was a great idea, but I've put more time and thought into it, and one of the things that in my discovery I found is that the master planning process is being done by a consultant, and they're underway, and so trying to figure out how that actually you can impact a consultant, and frankly I misunderstood a citizens advisory committee, Dan. I thought it was basically manna. And so now I kind of even more process and thinking, this is for me, it's been a work in process. So experience-wise, throughout my lifetime, I've in the military, whenever we had operations in an area where you're dealing with a civilian component, 3.5 years in Europe and Panama and other, commanding the Army Guard and dealing with the range up in Underhill and the impact that has on the community. And then right here, dealing with the Bridge and Rail project. And every single time, we had to have somebody who was a point person for communications going in all directions and call them. I'll give you an example everybody's very familiar with right here. When we had lawsuits going on, we had everybody up in arms. The town of Middlebury was going to be non-existent at the end of the Bridge and Rail project, and we put our thinking caps on and we went and actually met with the people who are the head of the project, the head of VTrans. And realized that the project as designed was gonna cause a lot of pain. And everybody working together, I mean, the project was planned. They'd spent a lot of money. It's no different than where we're at with the airport right now. They're in the middle of this plan. As we looked at it, we had an opportunity to provide input. And we got, it wasn't a totally, I'd be lying to you if I said we walked up there and we said, we want to do it this way. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll do it the way you want. The town had to flex its muscle and push for what we felt was best for the town of Middlebury. And that was not what some who were in the throes of a lawsuit and everything believed, that we would just stay as we were. But it was a significant change from the original plans that the state had. So I say this to say that I'm a believer the town has to be, number one, the forefront of the negotiations with AOT. And secondly, that we have to have a defined process now and going forward for clear, open communications. And whether that's a quarterly meeting or whatever it is, we cannot let this happen again out at our airport, because it's broken down in my time on the select board now. This is the 4th time, and it's an embarrassment. Frankly, it's unacceptable. And every one of those is about communication. Today, I worked with V-Trans and said, look, we have to have better communication, and Andy has sold me on the fact that we have to have a component of someone representing the airport community on the discussions with the planning, the current ongoing planning. And Secretary Flynn, who is a friend of Middlebury, and I have worked with him over the years a fair amount, and he has agreed, without even having to send a letter, he has agreed that this is unacceptable and that he would accept an individual of our appointment onto the TAC, and that they would have the same access as the rest of the technical advisors, but it would provide a different viewpoint to and that group will get the plan, as I understood it from our conversation. That group will get the plan for review and comment before it goes public. And my final request of him would be that before it goes public and they start the process of permitting, that they come and present to the select board and the community in an open meeting the plan. And it's an opportunity for us to question, understand where they're at, and have provide them comments before they start the process of permitting for acceptance of the final plan. It is not, it comes shy of a large CAC, but for me, time is of the essence, and the most important thing and where we have broken down is in the communication aspect. And we do have, we always have an opportunity to provide input if we know what's going on. The problem is nobody knew what was going on. And that's my proposal. I gave an email to some of those that I knew were involved last night, just to give them an idea of kind of where I was thinking at the time. hadn't had an opportunity to see if we could get I wanted to know if there was a TAC, coincidentally, as I was sending my first email today about, is there a TAC and who's on it? I had just hit send, and ping, I got an email from Andy with the description of the TAC. And so I don't know if he's got my line bugged, but it's pretty good. That's pretty good intel, Andy. But then I got probably half an hour or an hour later, I got a response from VTrans confirming that there was a TAC and who was the membership. And lo and behold, I see that the town is supposed to be a member, and you know, here I am supposed to be the chair of the select board, and I don't know that. I'm embarrassed. I'm quite irritated, to be honest with you. And I apologize. But I think my personal opinion, and the board can do what vote as it wants, my personal opinion is that we need to correct, and I'm committed to correcting the information issue. I am putting more time than I really can give, but I'm putting a lot of time into trying to fix that because it's important to me. And that we work to determine who's our best representative and get them through our committee nomination process and onto it. If we can short circuit that to get it done right off, so that we have a representative on the TAC. That's my kind of counter proposal. And part of it is a letter to the governor is not a quick response, and I feel like I was able to negotiate a very acceptable solution that is immediate. And I've sent letters to the governor before, and sometimes it's a long process to get up on his calendar. So that's where my headspace is at. Ross.
You can come, Ross, you can jump over on that mic too there.
Okay.
If you just talk into the mic, then people
Okay.
watching on Zoom should
This
be
one?
able to hear.
All right.
They should be able to hear you well.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for your efforts on behalf of the citizens in East Middlebury who live around the airport. The letter did include mention of this idea of another option, which is having someone from the residential area represented on the TAC. And I think you're probably right. Trying to go through the governor's office is kind of a, who knows how long that could take. And I know the process already for the plan is already in process. So I think that if the select board, I would encourage the select board to go with that idea, because I think it would meet the ask of MANA, which is to have someone from our community there at the table while the process is ongoing. But I also like your idea of having some kind of a point person for communication, which I don't think should be the same person. And so perhaps this select board might also find someone who could be kind of a liaison between VTrans and the town and the community, so that we're aware of what's going on, when it's going on, you know, so that whoever gets appointed to the TAC isn't not all on their shoulders. And luckily, we have two of the folks from MANA that were willing to volunteer to be on either the Citizens Advisory Committee or the Transportation Advisory Committee, both Andrew and Eugene. And so I would put forward, if I may, them as possible candidates for your considerations tonight to get that process going.
Okay, thank you, Ross. I do know we have hands up, Kathleen, probably it's loaded with.
Hi, Paula.
Paula? You're muted?
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. She's muted again.
Paula, we hear you.
We did.
Or you're muted now again.
Good now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Got you now.
Okay, so I was, while you were talking, Brian, I sort of got lost to the immediate question, and that's why I was wondering about Andy restating it. So you don't feel that, you could write a letter that would be too slow? And so I'm confused because it was the recommendation of Ruth Hardy, in which he thought we should approach the governor, that would be, he's the one who could stop things, and that's the approach. So can you speak to that point in which representatives like Robin Scheid and Ruth Hardy and Amy Sheldon are supporting this? So we could have somebody from Senator Sanders' transportation team who would get it on board. And so I'm really, can you help, since you are connected with the governor, how this would work? Why we're suggested on the one hand to go to the governor, to write the governor. That's our focus. And yet you're saying that's going to take too long. So can you help us understand why sending that letter and having this other support behind us won't be effective? It would be too slow. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm really wanting to understand your understanding of working with the governor.
Sure.
Did you hear all of that?
I did, Paula, and I'm happy to share my thought process on that. I'm not sure what you told our representatives and Senator Hardy, but and to
They
get.
were at our meetings, by the way.
Yeah, and I.
They've been at their meetings.
And I've seen their emails, but my guess is they haven't done any of the backgrounding. And
Okay.
so, and they get Senator Sanders involved. What we're talking about right now is a consultant working on a master plan. It is real early stages. And I think.
Brian, I think, I'm sorry, I don't really mean to interrupt you, and it's harder on Zoom, but early stages, we live right here, early stages, and you go down the road and something's clear cut. That's not early stages, that's in the process, that's already happened. And if you're talking about, like that, yeah, you were picking up everything we've been through for quite a long time now, and trying to get some movement. And so, no, this is happening.
No, Paula, the clear cut is a permit that was issued a year ago.
We know that, we know that.
Well, they're different actions.
But in the end, this is the kind of stuff that's happening. It got delayed, but in the larger plan, how does one stop that plan that went through a while ago?
I would love to talk to you not across this Zoom because it's our two-way conversation's not going well, but.
I know, I'm so sorry. I appreciate your time, and I was trying to make it there, and it's hard for me to get there.
The clear cutting is part of maintenance and has nothing to do with the master plan. The master plan is looking at facilities. I mean, it all ties in, but it's not a result of the master planning that they're doing right now.
That's correct. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. It's the larger picture of when we're talking about wanting a seat at the table, and we're hearing a certain kind of response, that we're moved further and further away from the table, and yet we're right there on top of the effects of what happens. And asking for a seat at the table would seem like we need that representation, since we are right there on the line that's being affected.
I'm not sure, did you hear me say that the Secretary of Transportation conceded to provide a seat at the table?
I don't know actually how that translates in terms of advice and planning.
Well, there's the Technical Advisory Committee. It would be a seat on the Technical Advisory Committee, which is already stood up and exists.
Right. So,
Anyway, I just shared what I think is a viable solution, and
can you state it, could you state it again in a simple form, concretely?
sure.
Thank you.
So that, number one, we would have a representative from both the town government, which is our planner, and a representative from the Citizens Committee, which would be part of the TAC. So we would have 2 town representatives out of the, how many did you say it is?
16, I think.
16? So we would have 2 from the town. We also have 2 others from the community. There's Rob Carter from the Chamber and Mike Winslow from the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. So we would actually have 4 from our community representing our community in that planning process. And then, secondly, that we would work, as soon as I have to be gone for a week on business, but then Prem Prakash, myself, and Michelle and Dan from Agency of Transportation would meet and work to construct a better communication pathway for us to move forward with, so we don't end up with these lapses in communication and which result in distrust. I would tell you that the people we're working with, Michelle has been a good partner for us in the past, and I know that the Secretary of Transportation is an excellent man who has done a lot for the community of Middlebury. So I don't see them personally trying to slide anything by us.
Okay, no, well, thank you. That made it a lot clearer. And so thank you so much for highlighting that. Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Paula. So now we have Judy.
Judy? Hi, Judy.
Yeah, thanks so much. So can I just ask, how other members of the select board feel about this? I hear your voice, Brian. How does everybody else feel?
Sure.
I'll start. I'm fully in support of what Brian has done. He's obviously got a seat on the TAC, and I don't think that a CAC would ever be organized, because, as the description there, this is a pretty small project compared to FAA projects around, and I would think that the reason a CAC wasn't set up was probably, number one, they ignored it, and number two, because of the size of the project, they probably figured the TAC would cover everything. Also, I think if we send a letter to the governor, and we endorse the letter, the governor is going to send it to the secretary, and the secretary is going to say, I already talked to Brian Carpenter, and we've given them a seat on the TAC, and it's going to come back to the governor, and the governor's going, you've already got what you've asked for, so I think this is win-win. I think Brian has researched it out and added even more with the already starting to improve the communications. And shockingly, we found out that we as a town government have a seat on it. I'm fully in support of doing this and not endorsing a letter to go to the governor.
Fraud.
Yeah, first of all, get back to the point. Really appreciate Andy for that excellent presentation, and Brian, thank you for your thoughtful response. It was great. You convinced me. I was for CSE first. I can settle for, that will still be my first preference, but I will settle for TSE. My question will be, would we appoint the person on TAC, and would they be able to pick one of the people to be on the TAC?
I think it should come through us.
With their agreement?
With their agreement, absolutely.
Okay. The second thing is the TAC that we currently have is not a functional body right now. The list of that is, Rob Carter is not even on the Chamber of Commerce, so it's not a current list. So how functional is this going to be once you have this going, would be my concern, because so far, the communication, like you said, it has been disastrous with the state. That's the reason these people are here right now, they are concerned that they are not being heard or they're not being informed. So that's the reason I was going for CSE, but I would settle for the TAC as long as we make this functional, the TAC, going forward, I think.
And that would be a point of discussion when Prem and I meet with Michelle and Dan.
And just a general question, was the members on the TAC, are they even aware that they're members now? Like Jen, for example, and like.
Well, at the risk of, we were not aware of this,
Exactly.
so, yeah. There's a lot to be fixed in our relationship.
And I can assure you that once Brian has given his word, when the select board has given you the word, that we will be on top of that. It's not gonna be what happened in 2016 or 18 or whatever. Once we give you the word that we will be, like we did the rail and bridge project, we had a constant back and forth with the AOT and Secretary Flynn and stuff. So if Brian has said that we will support you, that means that we will support you. Did I say too much?
I don't have anything further to add. I'm in agreement with your proposal. So,
Yeah, I think that communication is obviously the big problem here, and not knowing what the plans are, what the planning process is, and how people can be involved. If the CAC was the right way to go, I'd be entirely in favor of that. From what Brian suggested, it sounds like seats on the already existing, possibly effective TAC is the better way to get involved in this process right now. Yeah.
I do, just quickly, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do we have to advertise for the position?
We have to advertise for positions that are required by our town charter or required by state statute. This is one that you could appoint without an advertising.
Okay. Thank you.
And I was just gonna say, if Manna or the neighbors start moving through this process and it doesn't work, I'm open to signing a letter to the governor as you had originally requested. I do agree that it would take longer, just knowing how committees work, I think it'd probably be months before you would start getting any information, you know, because all those things would have to be in place. And it seems like this is a direct route to get that information and start that communication that is not happening. So, but that said, I hope we hear back if things are not going well, and we can always change things in the future, but I do agree that this is a good plan.
Russ?
I don't at all doubt your conversations, but with my limited experience dealing with the state, should you approve this idea we've been talking about, I really hope you'll do something in writing and get things in writing with the state and not just rely on your conversation. No disrespect, it's just, please.
Duly noted.
My name's Colleen Brown, and my property also abuts the airport. And I just have a question about timing. You know, I think, like everybody else I think has said, although I would like to see a CAC created, I think if this TAC can happen quickly and without so much red tape, and, you know, whoever's there from the select board and the community can get it moving, that would be better. And I'm just wondering, based on your conversations, Brian, what your sense is of what the timing is. I mean, when will we have somebody officially from the select board and from the community actually on the TAC and able to contact the chair to say, can we meet next week or something? Because, you know, delay has been the name of the game here, and I really think this is, as I understand you, your motivation is largely to move this along. So I'm just asking a better sense if you've gotten any from the folks you've talked to or what you envision, so we know when we can move it forward.
So I'll be gone. In answer to that, I need to meet with them and I need to get a bunch of notes of process and timing and everything. And actually, Andy can share with me all that he's got. I mean, thank you, Andy, for the amount of time and effort you've put into this.
Yes.
It's
Good job.
It's very helpful to have a starting point. But I plan to meet with them if it works for Prem's schedule as well, as the week after I get back, which is the first week of April.
So maybe I misunderstood. I thought the meeting that you and Prem and Michelle and one more person we're having together was really a more global conversation about moving forward, and the TAC was sort of a separate piece.
Well, it is, but need to do both, and we need to appoint somebody here at the select board. So when's our next meeting?
April 12th.
So we need to have everything ready to appoint on April 12th. And so that's...
So is that when you would appoint both members? I mean, as I understand.
Well, the other member's is already appointed.
Oh, so you just have to have one of you.
It's not one of us.
Oh, one of us,
It's
one of you.
It's our town planner.
It's the
Right.
The town planner, okay.
Yeah.
Right, and then
one of
you,
his.
yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like it's just one person that you have to appoint, and the town planner now
Correct.
knows
Yes,
he or she can go.
Yeah.
I think you should have a conversation of who you want to appoint from MANA and bring it to the select board. I think.
Yeah, we can get it to you ahead of time so that you can think about it. Pardon me?
We had that conversation. We had two candidates. They're both here tonight.
Oh, okay, so it's either Andy or Eugene.
That's correct. I just stated in the letter.
Well, it needs to be one, so.
But can I speak up?
Oh, yeah, I mean, take my chair. I'm done. All set. I just wanted to get the timing on the record because I just wasn't clear on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Listening to everybody here, you know, I've been quiet, sitting in the background there. My history of this place here goes back
Can you
before all.
state your name just for the record?
Pardon?
State your name for the record.
Eugene Roy. Live on Schoolhouse Hill Road, south side of the airport. I've been there since the late 70s. That's when we built our house. That's when there was no rules and regulations what the airport could do. As stuff happened in front of my house, and I'm talking about right in front of my house, when they went in there and excavated about 20 feet of dirt, which was the berm between me and the airport. They took that out of there. Mr. Bowen did this. I called the state up. Within hours, they red flagged the thing and shut it down because they knew it was a mistake to begin with. They were taking that soil out of there because it's rich top soil. And they stripped it. And you can really, if you go there, you can take a look how much of that dirt was taken out of it. We had trees on top of that which blocked off a lot of the south side of the airport. Not tall trees, but the berm, and the noise wasn't as bad. Well, that happened. Another thing that happened right in front of my house was they spread raw sewage right onto the ground of the airport. One phone call, they came down and shut that right down. So a lot of that stuff happened. The town didn't know about it. It's been like that since the early 80s, late 70s. And that's only a couple of things. I've been in front of this board, not this board, but the old board before when all the helicopters used to sit down at the south end. And I walked into the board meeting and I had my little recorder, which was a little tape recorder. And as we were talking, I turned it on and they all told me to turn that off. I said, well, that's what's in front of our house. Then it made them open their eyes, but, you know, back then, nothing really happened because we didn't have any power. I just want to say that. And, you know, we're here, we've moved along a lot further with all these co-workers with us. And, you know, there used to be just a few houses there. Now there's over 100 houses around there. That's something else the town has to realize. Tax dollars, how many tax dollars coming out of there? A lot. A lot of nice homes there. There's another 25 lots out there that Johnson wants to develop behind my house. Okay, is it residential or is it an airport or is it both? If it's both, then we have to work together. Better than what we have since. I want to thank you guys for
Eugene,
listening.
would you just comment personally on whether you would be interested in serving on the tax?
I will talk to all part of me say yes. I just got to confer with everybody else.
Okay. I just,
Because-
Ross.
Right.
Ross volunteered. I just wanted to hear it from you directly.
Yeah,
if
no,
you were interested.
yes, I
And
mean.
the same for Andy. It would-
Yes, I would be.
Okay.
I've got some good writers over here. I'm not a good writer. I don't play on these things much, so, and it takes that to be able to communicate a lot, so, but I would confer with them and see what.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Eugene.
Thank you very much, guys.
And by the way, Andy is my neighbor.
You should have disclosed that far.
Wow.
Our hearts are close.
Ann?
Hi, Ann.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I very much appreciate everyone's comments, and Brian, I wanted to let you know how much I truly appreciate how you've embraced the dilemma. I truly, truly appreciate that. And putting us on the tack, I think, is a great immediate step. And I have a request. As you continue forward and meeting with Mr. Flynn and Prakash and Michelle to work on the communication, I kind of envision a possibility of someone on the TAC being our short-term solution and perhaps forming a CAC as our long-term solution towards good communication amongst all parties. So would you consider that, keeping that in mind with as your talks go forward?
Absolutely, and, I'm looking at any ideas on how we can improve communications, so. That's not
Thank you.
anything I have predetermined.
And can I just add to that? That's a good point because
Thank you, Ann.
the FAA does recognize that aspect of the CAC as well, that it's not just for the master plan, because in certain cases it can be kind of clunky, but they do recognize that an ongoing relationship, using the CAC for other issues that are going on with the airport is something that the FAA, again, recommends that the airport sponsor look at. They don't mandate it, but they just, that they recommend it.
I think we need to put everything out as possibilities and figure out what's going to work best for our particular situation.
Brian, you had suggested that having consultants doing the planning made it tougher for a CAC to get involved, I think. I think that's what I
It's just
heard.
my personal opinion. You got a guy who's contracted, who's halfway through a project, and to start a new committee for him to work with, him or her, to work with, where they already have an existing, it just seemed to me like it would be clunky.
Okay.
And especially if they're not used to doing it. And so I don't know, I was just thinking through, how do you fuse some of these thoughts into it without imposing it? And you don't have the V-Trans, you don't have the governor on top. You got a consultant out here who's like, I'm paid to turn out a product.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know,
Thanks for that clarification. I wasn't sure what the consultant piece had to do with the
it's just,
process.
well,
Yeah.
it's a person who's an independent worker who's
Sure.
working to turn out a product for a fee.
Right, not a V-Trans group or, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And finally, we have Judy Gross.
Hi, Judy.
And Judy, is your...
1 second. Hello. He's, am I on?
You are on.
Oh, boy, yes.
Are you, are you all set?
Okay, so if I'm on, Jim Dish, when he was the liaison between, the AOT and the town for the bridge project, was he paid for that?
Jim Gish's position was a paid position. There's a little bit of difference. It is something that is an option that I would like to explore with the state and what the funding is. But Jim Gish was working on a $70-something million project, which is a little bit different. Doesn't mean that it's not something we would ask for. It's already in my thought process, Judy.
Okay, because I think with the time and effort that's going to go into this, it should be considered. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy?
So I don't think this is anything that needs a motion. If you're okay with that, I think it's just that we need to expedite the process. I do ask you to provide us a couple options for a rep from MANA to be our citizen on, that we would nominate, that we would put onto the committee.
So at the last MANA meeting, which is where we decided on penning this letter to the governor, we all agreed and voted to nominate, both Eugene and Andrew were the ones that volunteered, and everyone agreed they were going to be our candidates.
Okay, so you.
So those are your
We
candidates.
just heard from,
Yeah, I don't know why you thought you needed to go back and ask. You said something about checking with everybody.
I would like to make sure that I'm at the spot. I mean, the way you guys write and all that, I don't do that. And it takes someone in that position too. I can speak up.
well,
So it's
this,
something that we ought to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
instead of you.
I see this as someone who can, I don't think this is the type of thing where they get in the committee room and they're, and like a board meeting. I think they distribute and then share information. The state is still doing a tremendous amount of Zoom, and so having somebody helping you on that, I don't see that as being an issue, but you have one voice. You can't have them speaking for you. But
So your usual process for town appointments is one meeting, you have nominations, at the next meeting you appoint.
this one, it's one meeting, same meeting.
It is one meeting, okay, so we can have time.
You have
to-
time, that's why.
Okay.
But we need it before the 12th.
Okay, we'll get something to you before the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah, so like the week before the 12th, whatever that is, if you could get that to Kathleen, probably like, is that enough time? The week before the 12th?
The 5th,
We like to have everything by
Thursday.
the Wednesday before.
Wednesday, okay.
That way it can
gonna
be
be on the
built in the
agenda.
packet and built into the agenda and built into the warning, so, yeah. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All set.
Wow.
Nice job, thanks.
Yeah. Thank all of you for your time.
Now you all have to stay here for the rest of the meeting and go through the rest of this list, because you took up a lot of time, so you gotta pay back by being here. Leave you with Judy. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Next is a request from the Churchill family of 1 Forest Lane for the conveyance of additional property from the town. In September, we approved a request from the Churchill Family Trust to quitclaim a 50-foot by 62-foot parcel of town-owned land at 1 Forest Lane that sits beneath a garage structure on the property. And the Churchill family is now seeking the board approval for a second quitclaim deed request, this time comprising 2 small adjacent parcels totaling .12 acres. The proposed boundary line adjustment would encompass lands that now include a fenced dog yard and a septic system on the property. If the board is amenable to the request, the next step would be to authorize Kathleen Ramsey to work with council on drafting a quitclaim deed for your approval. As a reminder, the proposed conveyance of town-owned land will trigger required public act notification under 24 VSA Section 1061. And just a reminder, way we did it on the last one is, I'm sure they're willing to again, the Churchill family covered all of the town's costs. The only thing that they didn't cover is Kathleen's staff time, so.
Is this Patel land?
No, yeah.
It's close.
It's right there.
Yeah,
Right there.
this is 650 feet away from the water tower. I had asked Dan for, to make sure there wasn't any interference with.
Can I ask a few other questions? Why didn't they do this all in one package last year?
They didn't realize until the surveyor went out there that their dog yard was on town land and that the septic system was on town land.
Where, well, I just looked at a picture on Google Earth, and there's no dog fence there. So, thinking that Google Earth is probably within the last couple of years,
Right.
they've built this fence just recently. And if they knew that they had an issue with the town, or with the survey, why would they build a dog fence and then ask the town to give them the land?
It was the same issue with the garage.
Well, that was 50 years ago. I gave them a pass. I mean, anybody, before you're gonna build anything, is gonna have a survey to see if you're gonna put it on. They took a huge hunk of land with the garage, and I don't even know, with a schematic, where the sewer is.
I thought it was where the arrow was pointing as a gravel drive. That looks like a little bit like
It looks like it
sewer
could be.
bed, but then it's labeled as a gravel drive, so.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know where that is, and,
Okay, from what I understand, that this is the chain link fence where the dog is, right here. where the pointer is?
Yeah, it is there, and you can you can look on Google Maps and you can twist around. There's no fence in Google.
And then, this is my understanding where the septic system is.
Okay.
For the record, the Google map on my house is at least 4 years old.
Okay, so either they've either built the fence in the last 4 years, or they've torn it down since,
Right.
you know, so, I mean,
It could be, I mean, honestly, it could be older than that, but it's
if,
at least.
they've obviously known for a long time that they had issues with the land,
Right.
and they put up a dog fence, and then asked for permission to have the land.
They can move the dog fence to the.
Well, if, I'm not exactly sure what they're looking for. It looks, what they didn't say is there's the dog fence. It looks like, to what I'm seeing, is the whole dog fence. I'm not sure what is the land. Is that line, that 140-25, the longitudinal line there, is that their town line or their property line, or
This right here?
is it, yeah, is that their property line?
Correct.
Well, not only is their dog fence there, but their front porch is in town,
Very close, yep.
so.
So which line is it, the blue line or the pink line?
What happened after the surveyor came up with this proposal to use the red line, Mr. Churchill met with planning and zoning, and David Wetmore, planning and zoning, said, well, that's great, but you also need some setbacks from the corner of the garage. So what we're proposing is to do the blue line, so that all the setbacks are met and they are in conformance with zoning for a boundary line adjustment.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so it's the blue line and the longitude and latitudinal lines are the current property, and then the blue lines are what the town has figured out to give them setbacks.
Yep.
So,
And can we ask the question, is this gonna be it? I mean, before we go through the process again,
Yeah.
is this gonna satisfy their needs? You know, should we be considering, I mean, I appreciate, David Whitmore going out and making the additional suggestion for the lines. I still think the edge of that dog fence is very close to,
Yeah, there's no setback there.
Where's the dog fence? I'm sorry.
it's this
That's-
chain link
It's the
fence
chain
on
link
the,
fence.
on the west side of the house there.
So there
So
there
that's
is an
just a little
asymmetry.
triangle, that's all, in the corner?
So
So
up
this-
top is the garage?
Oh,
Like
you got a
that's the
good
garage?
picture.
Yeah, you can actually,
So the
like,
pink line is
land
the,
in their
is the
yard.
town
yeah, you
property?
can go down into their yard. if you want.
This is where the town property ends right now.
Okay,
No privacy
so they are
anymore.
already on our property.
So it part of the house is on the property then?
The dog fence. The
front porch, the dog fence.
But I don't get where the fence is. The fence is,
Curb is on top.
I've always wanted to live in that house, by the way.
It's a full house.
look at the view.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have an option to say no.
His view's not too bad either.
We always have an option to say no.
Did that increase the taxes?
My question is, if there is a dog
Yeah.
fence
That's a
on
good
our
question.
property.
Would you?
Tiny bit,
Why can't
right?
they-
$500 of land.
Instead of
We
asking
paid, they
us
paid
for-
$500
Well, the
last time.
problem is it's not just the dog
Right,
fence,
but we're
but
adding
it's also
$500
part
of
of their
land to the
porch
grant
and,
list, taking it out of the
driveway.
town.
Right now, they're
And making it
specifically
private.
asking for the dog fence and,
yeah.
the septic.
Well, and it's not like we can use that .05 acres for anything with the house there.
No,
Sure.
I know, I just bringing up a point.
I
an
just,
annoyance.
the only
Mine's all
thing I
private
thought
around
when
me,
I
I
looked
can't
at
build
this
on
was,
any town land.
you know,
Yeah, me
looking
neither.
at where the drive goes, did it make sense, you know, how much more are we talking about to bring
Right.
the
Is
point,
that what they're
this
talking
point over maybe a little more and,
This is up in
Um,
here
Is
somewhere, yeah.
Like right here.
yeah. I'm just asking
Is
the
there a whole
question.
driveway?
The water tank is up
Is,
here.
is this going to
The
be
water
it?
No, the
If we
town's
go,
water
I mean,
tank
granted,
there.
they're paying the costs, and if they wanna go through it again and pay for the cost again, okay.
Do we own the?
But should we ask the
Do they have an
question?
easement for their driveway?
I don't know if that's a driveway.
Is
I think
this,
that might be a
is
road.
this?
It's a
Oh,
road,
Forest
it's the road, no, you're
This
right.
is it until the
So
next
this is,
one.
their driveway probably starts like right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at some point, I think
I
we
wanna
need to
build a
charge for
castle.
staff time.
Castle
You know,
Hill.
it's one thing to have a mistake
I tried to
once,
live in the
but
country, Tammy wouldn't let me.
for us to not, I mean, I almost, I don't know, we haven't got an existing policy for fees, but it makes you wonder. if
Yeah, I think so.
We did a lot of these.
We were
I
just
would
talking
have
that.
a fee.
I
So
want that property, I'm gonna build a
this-
castle right there.
Where the little, just to where the
Bigger,
blue line is there, where the word flush is, by the 3 foot and the 2,
Yeah.
that line that runs down, is that the road?
This?
That's
No,
a
no,
gravel. It says gravel right
The
there.
road
where it
is there.
says, yeah, is that the edge of,
I still have to pack.
what is that line signifying, do we know? No?
The road goes, the driveway goes right in front of the house there,
Mm-hmm.
and then it immediately turns into Forest Drive, right? So the town owns they have the longest driveway in town, and we, as a town, own it and
We
plow
plow
it.
it.
So,
So
they're the only
where
house
is
on the
this?
road.
But is that,
Is there?
Down here.
There's one down
Where
there.
is this?
Oh, yeah, stuck in the woods there. But that's accessible, that's accessible from down near the bottom of the road again, down, is,
135 South
They're
Pleasant
dri-
Street.
they're,
Right here.
yeah, it is, I see it, got it.
Yeah.
I just saw that.
and
That's what that.
their
parking is.
garage,
because their garage is up here.
That's what their garage is right there. There's another garage right there.
Is their garage on our land too?
do they have an easement from the town of Middlebury from? for
They
their
haven't,
garage?
okay, okay. Is this how we access the water tower? Is that why this road is here?
No, we access the perpendicular road to the water tower.
Okay.
This
Okay,
comes off the road.
Can I get us back onto the,
Brian wants to go home.
I have to go pack still.
Your street view.
You
And
have an old one.
where are we at on this discussion? Are there any more questions?
Is everybody okay with this? I guess we'll find out about
We
the
haven't
vote.
got a motion yet.
Kathleen, are you comfortable with giving away town lane?
I think that this was an agreement made a long time ago to give them an easement for their garage. We can debate if that was a good idea or not, but that was 60 years ago, and I think this would just clean it up, hopefully, and hopefully, Heather, yes, this is it.
So you good with this?
Are there setback requirements for fencing?
What is it?
Well, if Dave's looked at it, he must be comfortable with it, but,
Okay.
uh,
I mean, if we're doing this for conformance and we're still right at the edge of the dog fence,
A fence is easily moved
So
though.
I'll
Maybe.
confirm
I don't think the dog
the
fence
setbacks
exists anymore.
and make sure that there's enough.
yeah,
But, no, but that was a recent survey, so the dog fence does still exist.
so can I get a motion?
I move to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to work with council to draft a quitclaim deed for .12 acres of town-owned land located on 1 Forest Lane for board examination and approval.
Hey, sleepyheads, do I get a second?
Second.
Just didn't want to have my name on there.
Property tax reassessment, the land will go on the tax rolls?
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
That's fine.
We have,
Good point.
Fred Dunnington with his hand.
It's just what you said a minute ago.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Fred.
Hey, Fred?
Good evening. I'm a neighbor of the Churchills, and I bought the same 14-acre piece of town land that's water department land below the Batchel Trust land. It could be a great site for an additional water storage reservoir. But aside from that, I think that on principle, it's awkward, to say the least, for someone to build something on town land and later ask for, can you give it to us? And $500 was pretty generous. I hope the town would do a better job of discouraging the principle of just expropriating land for adjoining property owner's use and then giving it away practically. You know, there's a gravel area behind the garage that they're still going to use that, you know, where the 2 feet 0 inches shown in your diagram here. This definitely benefits the saleability of the parcel. and it's gonna appreciate in value quite considerably when they do sell it.
They can't sell it.
So I think just on principle, we ought to discourage expropriation and get fair value for the town. No offense against the Churchills, Budger's my friend and Teresa's a neighbor, but I just think on principle it's pretty awkward for that. But I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
They can't sell it as is.
I
They
do agree with
They
Fred.
could never sell that house with
I'm gonna
having
vote
their
against it.
septic system on the town land. So sounds like.
Because it's, if somebody has encroached on the town land and come back 20 years later or something, or say, give us a quick claim. Yeah, I don't think that's fair.
Town land.
Is there any legal precedent on this, Kathleen, as far as if we didn't do anything to keep them off from our land, where they would have a claim to that land?
Squatters' rights for their dog fence?
I don't know, I just asked that question.
Their septic system.
When you're talking about a boundary line adjustment, it's always a big deal whether the fence is.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you
Farmers,
want me
where's
to
that
work up
fence?
a fair value for the land, I'm certainly happy to do that.
Kathleen wants to go home too.
I kind of like the idea. Are you gonna be the snake guy?
I'll go with that.
The current property is 0.44 acres, and this is an additional 0.12. We're adding a quarter to the lot?
Quarter of the lot, yeah.
That's substantial. Yeah, I think some kind of actual market value would be good.
Okay, well, there's 3, that's enough to carry for tonight. Would you care to rescind your motion, or do you want to vote on the motion?
Sure, I can rescind it until we have more information from
information.
Kathleen.
Okay.
Totally fine.
All right, we'll move on. Requesting the town's consent to the merger between the Addison Partnership and the Smith Partnership, with the Addison Partnership being the surviving partnership. Say that fast 3 times.
No, thanks.
Draw a diagram, please.
So Jess Peck, an asset manager with Evernorth, recently reached out to the town regarding an impending merger between Addison Housing Limited. Oh, is Jess with us?
Jess is
Oh,
with us.
Hey. You waited all night, Jess?
I have been here.
Oh,
We're sorry.
You got to see a fun meeting then.
Well, thanks for hearing us. So we are requesting a merger. We did one a few years ago, merging 2 partnerships of the Gens and Addison, with Addison surviving, and we are looking to roll Smith Partnership into that full partnership. And it's really just to financially extend the life of the properties. It helps us with economy of scale, cutting, so we're not doing 2 audits and 2 of this and 2 of that, and, just helping them both function better together, rather than separately.
Any questions of Jess?
It doesn't change anything as far as like the position that Middlebury is in. The properties are perpetually affordable, staying affordable, so nothing is changing in any of that respect.
So primarily you're just simplifying accounting and auditing?
Correct.
Makes sense to me.
Make a motion?
Yeah, sure. Let me find it.
Right here. 9.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I clicked on something. 8, 9. I move to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to work with the Town Council on drafting an amendment to the agreement between Addison Housing Limited Partnership and Smith Limited Housing Partnership, outlining the terms of their proposed merger for the board's consideration.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Check warrants, that Dan?
Yes, it's me. I move to approve the total expenditures in the amount of $3,496,020.47 consisting of $3,378,648.43 for the accounts payable and $117,372.04 for payroll for the period of March 9, 2020 through March 22, 2022.
Second.
All in favor,
School money.
signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
School. There's a
Thank
lot of
you.
money there that went
Thank
to
you,
school.
Dan,
Yes,
for taking over today. Thank you. Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome, you're welcome. Payback.
So, board member concerns, Andy?
I am concernless.
It's a lot better than clueless.
I could be considered clueless, but don't think, nice job tonight. I thought, thanks Brian for doing all that work. It really
Well, I
diffused.
have my fingers and my toes crossed that it goes smoothly. And I, with your guys' support, will be hounding V-Trans to make sure we get it off to a start here, so.
Great.
I'm trying to keep Kathleen in the loop, but I know we've already buried her with other projects, so this is one that I can do.
Good, no, thanks. Nothing else.
Nothing else. Farhad?
Yeah, I had a very great meeting with Karen Duguay and Alden Harwood from the farmers market last week, with Nan, Brian's wife, and it was a great meeting. Alden had approached me a couple months ago. He wanted to explore the possibility of moving the farmers market somewhere in Middlebury, and we always question them, how come they don't, but he was not on the board when the decision was made for them not to come downtown. But right now, they have the vendors have declined at the current place, and they hardly have anybody coming, so they're concerned. So we met with Karen Duguay, and by the way, BMP also is putting out a Thursday market for the summer, every Thursday from 3 to 7. So they got concerned, the farmers market people, that they thought we were competing with them. We said, no, we're not, but we want to bring vitality downtown, that's why we are doing it. So we invited them to have some of the vendors at this Thursday market to test it out, to see how they like it. And if they like it, they're welcome to explore the possibility of having a Saturday market in Middlebury. So that's where the conversation, I just want to give you an update. They are excited, but I see something in the packet I haven't read today, so I don't know what that's about, but they are very eager to be somewhere in the downtown area.
Great. Me too.
Yeah.
Is the BMP, do they have the location? Like, is it gonna be in Triangle Park?
Triangle Park, yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
yeah,
Yes, please.
good, that's,
And that's, for the first year, is being funded by Table 21,
oh, wonderful.
$25,000 put into it. And after that, it
And
should be
there's gonna
self-sustaining.
be some revenue too. with
It
this
should be
market.
self-sustaining, because they're gonna,
Yeah.
they're renting spaces and stuff, so
Okay.
it should be.
That's great.
It's got a great manager, so it's gonna be big time, big.
Is Karen managing?
Big. No, Karen's not managing. I said it's gonna be big time. She's the new manager.
Thank you.
It's gonna be,
We'll see. I believe in her.
I do, yep. Karen's all excited about it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Karen solicited my wife.
Okay, oh, is she?
Yeah, she
managing
actually
manager?
picked her
Okay.
out to go to get Nan to do it.
She asked me for
Headhunted.
her contact information, and that was.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Did you just back
I
away
I
slightly?
gave her contact information.
But you said the night in the doghouse.
You know, she's excited about it.
Oh, good.
This is her first time since she was involved with the schools. Well, the kids were growing up with the PTA. She was president of the PTA for a while and different things like that. But she hasn't done anything for the community in a long time. She's very excited about it. So,
Awesome. Well, thank her for stepping up.
yeah.
I'm concernless.
This happens after 9.
Uh-huh.
I was going to mention that VLCT is looking to put together a DEI committee with representation from a number of towns. I think it sounds like perhaps they're looking for ways to support maybe smaller towns that don't have the funding stream that we do in doing this work. So they are looking for people to nominate themselves by this Friday. Unfortunately, it's a quick turnaround, but we have paper copies here of the application, and I'm sure Kathleen has access to an electronic one. And I can email Esther since she's not here in case she's interested, but if anyone
Are
is
you
interested.
interested?
I don't know yet.
And this is VLTC's doing this?
It's VLCT, and it is a day meeting. It looks like a Monday work day. And as I've mentioned, work days are a little tight for me. I'm doing better with evening. See, I'm still perky. It's after 9. But if anyone else is interested, please let me know. If not, I will consider it, because I think it's important work, and I'm glad that they're doing it. And that is my only concern.
Okay. The committee assignments, was that supposed to be done tonight?
You were going to mention
I'm
committee
gonna mention-
assignment?
Yes. So, the list is in here. Let's plan on finalizing them at the next board meeting, okay? I had a couple thoughts. I sent a note to Esther. Dan, and I just want to share them for you guys to think about, and, certainly everybody should have some input. The MREMS work group, I'd like to look to fold that into the public health and safety. And the liaison to Kickstart program, I think at this point, we can probably drop that assignment. And if in the future we need somebody, we could do that again. We just assigned Dan and Farhad to the Hillsley 100, so that's already taken care of. So one of the big moves I asked Esther to consider is that we would move Esther to be the primary on public health and safety to relieve Dan of that primary responsibility. He could stay on as the alternate, but he and Farhad are going to be, I think, worked pretty hard on that Hillsley 100. And then moving Andy to infrastructure. So that's
It's a great place to be to figure out what's going on.
well,
you're stuck
that's
with
just
me.
my thoughts. I'll let you guys think about it and talk
Uh-oh.
about it over the next couple weeks. Need to look at your committee members and be getting in touch with them. If Esther is comfortable with doing that, I think I would have support of the board if she. I've already talked to Dan about giving up that primary, and he's okay with that. And so if she's comfortable with that, then I'll ask her to start verifying that the other members are still interested in serving and stuff, so. Somebody needs to be doing that.
Excuse me.
We don't have need for a executive session, Kathleen? Correct?
No.
Wow.
All right.
That means
Moving
motion to
slowly.
adjourn.
So I will solicit a motion
You know
to
better.
adjourn, yes.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
This time of night, you just say aye.
That's right.
So Kathleen, on the list of committees there, Downtown Improvement District Commission, wasn't that Nick